G'day. I want to talk a little bit about ribbon microphones and why I use them in the studio. I'm Mark Lowry. I'm a musician and audio engineer, and I run a studio in my home. Ribbon microphones, well known for their warm, round, natural sound, primarily because they don't tend to exaggerate the top end. That seems to be they even some of them will taper off the top end over, like 16K. They'll start winding down the pickup. So they don't have that bright, potentially harsh sound that a condenser might get. And they also have a very strong proximity effect. So if you're close miking something, you'll get a quite clear, warm bottom end boost. Now, you may not want that all the time, but it's something that you can take advantage of if you want it. If you listen to any of those old Bing Crosby records, his vocals would have been done through an old ribbon mic, up reasonably close, and you can hear that fullness in his voice in that bottom end. Warm sounding mics, so they're great for in the home studio setting. They're also, because of the nature of the ribbon, they're very sensitive, so they get a good detailed capture as well. Whereas a dynamic microphone might be a bit slow and miss some of the sound that's coming through. A ribbon will be more receptive to the nuances of what it's trying to capture. So they're warm, natural sounding, detailed pickup. The other feature of a ribbon microphone is the figure 8 polar pattern. So the ribbon is a flat surface, a very narrow surface, and it faces front and back, and it picks up sound equally from the front and the back. Off to the sides is probably the strongest null you will get in a microphone. So you can strategically place other instruments around a ribbon to minimise the amount that instrument will be picked up by the mic. The other thing about the figure 8 polar pattern is you might close mic your guitar amp, but you will get room ambience coming into the back of the mic. So it gives it a greater depth of field than a single condenser microphone placed straight on the speaker. So it gives it a little bit more depth to the sound. When I'm recording a guitar amp, I'll probably have the 57, SM57 and this side by side, and then blend the two together. But the ribbon tends to give you a fuller sound because it's got the sound coming in the back as well. I use this guy for guitar amps, acoustic guitar. I've got two of them, so I might use the other one in an XY stereo format, where you can spread them out in other ways. I use it on my upright piano. Put one at each end of the upright piano to get a stereo capture. Horns, saxophones, vocals. I've used it on vocals. I've used it on drums, although I've got some of the other mics I'll show you. I'll probably use them prefer to use those ones. It's a multi-use microphone. This one is made by a company in Melbourne called OPR, Open Plan Recording. They call it the Grill. It's similar to the Royal 121, a lot cheaper than a Royal 121. And they're both apparently modelled on an older microphone, a Bang & Olufsen microphone, which I think was a stereo, and they've just built the single ribbon microphone modelled on that Bang & Olufsen mic. So that's my everyday ribbon. This guy is I treat him a bit more ruggedly, if you like. He's pretty solid being. I use him especially for mono overheads. If I'm recording a band in my room downstairs and I've got other things happening in the room, like a vocalist or whatever it might be, you're going to get spill. And I like to manage that as best I can, and this mic gives me a good option with that. A mono overhead with a strong null on the sides means a vocalist can be 4 or 5 feet away from the drums, and I don't get that much spill in this mic. I use it on guitar amps as well. Again, there's no designation of the front or back on him because the sound is the same on both sides. The input is the same on both sides. You might find a slight tonal difference, and that you just experiment to find out which side you prefer. So let's have a quick listen to how he sounds as an overhead. Now another one I've got is an actual stereo ribbon, and this is from an Adelaide company, same as the previous as this guy. It's Nude Microphones, which is a company in Adelaide. This is their Swiss Army knife, is what they call it, but it's a stereo ribbon. So there's 2 ribbon microphones in there, and they're set in an XY Blumline formation. So you line it up, so you've got one facing off that way to the sound source and the other one off that way. So you get that larger view of your sound source. I use these on acoustic guitars a lot. I also use it as a drum overhead where I'm wanting a stereo capture. I find ribbons are a bit better in taming the cymbals than a condenser. And condensers work really well too, and it depends on the room and the like, but I find these guys are a little bit better in taking some of the harshness out of the cymbals. So let's have a listen to this guy on acoustic guitar. And also on drums. Okay, so there's a couple of things you need to be careful of with ribbons. The ribbon is very sensitive. It's a very, very fine, very thin strip of metal. I haven't yet broken one, but there can always be a first time. The 2 main things you've got to be careful of is a rush of air, so like a plosive, a vocalist plosive, or horn players, or even the sound hole on a double bass. If he's playing some solid notes on a double bass, you'll get some air popping out of that sound hole. If you're unlucky, you can break the ribbon with that rush of air. So you've got to be careful about how close to the sound source you get these things, and where appropriate, use a pop filter. I would never use this for vocals without some form of pop filter. Horns, saxophones, for example, I'd put a pop filter on them. And drums, and you don't want to be too close to a loud source, so you've got to manage that as best you can. I think it's, as I said, I've never broken one, but the older style ribbons were much more fragile. The materials they're using these days makes these things a lot stronger and more durable. And the other, again, it's about the ribbon, but it's about phantom power. The old style, the older ribbons, as soon as you accidentally put phantom power through it, you would blow the ribbon. I don't believe, well, certainly I haven't done it myself. As I say, I think they're much more hardy these days, but it's not worth the risk. So you've got to be careful about phantom power, accidentally sending phantom power to a ribbon, because they don't need it, and in fact they don't want it. You could wreck it. Yeah, so there you have it. Ribbon microphones. Highly recommend them for the studio. They great sounding microphones that give you good options for capturing detailed sounds of the things you're after, while also giving you options about minimising spill from other instruments. Can't recommend them highly enough. I hope you got something out of that. Like, subscribe, comment, etc. And hope to see you another time. Thanks.